Have you tried diet after diet without finding long-term success? Well, believe it or not, it's not you. So many people think they know what they need to do to get healthy, but there's so much misinformation out there that many of us are sabotaging our health goals without even knowing it. Hi, I'm Carrie, a wife, mom, educator, and certified nutrition coach. After being frustrated by dieting and all the confusion out there about what actually works, I decided to figure it out. And what I discovered on my journey challenged everything I thought I knew about nutrition. And the solution is actually much simpler than you realize. So now, I'm on a mission to disrupt everything you think you know about nutrition too. Welcome to the Diet Disruptors Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Deb Van Duzen here. And I am, of course, along with my co-host in all of this, Carrie Lapoli. This is episode 2 of our podcast series, What's Really Weighing You Down? And today we're talking about the topic of weight loss versus health. What do you really want? Now, when we think about that, like Carrie, when you think about that question of weight loss versus health, what do you really want? What's the first thing that sort of comes to mind when people ask you that question?
It's so funny because I think people think it's one and the same, but I really want to talk today about, just a level of self-awareness around how we're having this conversation with ourselves. Is there a connection between weight loss and health? Yes. Is there also a massive disconnect?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm excited for this conversation because, we talk to women, hundreds and hundreds of women every month, and we have this conversation one-on-one with women. And it really kind of rocks their world when we get them to start thinking differently. I just, a few hours ago, I had a really amazing conversation with a woman. And I think it's time to get this out into the open in this forum, because I really think this topic is one of the things that's really weighing us down. And I don't even think we know that it is.
No, because I think it stems back to like your why. What is your real reason for doing something? And it's, your purpose. And when you start with why, and you start with what is my true reasoning for this, and you start digging deeper into that, you start to it's like an artichoke, right? You start to uncover and unpeel the layers. And when we think about weight loss versus health, it's more like, is it more like, are you doing X, whatever we want to insert in there, in order to lose weight? Or are you really looking to gain health? But sometimes I think people think that they're doing something to try and get healthy. And they're like, but if I lose weight, then I'll be healthy. And I think sometimes that's where the disconnect comes in.
Yeah. Inevitably, especially at the age that we are now, right? Going like in our 50s and just like 40s, 50s, 60s. If somebody says to you, do you want to be healthy, or like, does health matter to you? Like, everyone's going to say yes.
Yeah.
But I think, to your point, we have this belief that weight loss is the path to health. And it's like, it's inevitable. If I lose weight, then I'll be healthy. Of course, that's what I want. But we want to flip this on its head, because first of all, I know a lot of smaller, unhealthy people, a lot. We know that the weight on the scale is not a measure of health.
Correct.
But this is where it gets complicated. We know that a weight, and I'm going to use this word very kind of with some asterisks around it, but an unhealthy weight, right? Somebody that is not at their optimal weight for their optimal health,
right?
Then that is unhealthy. right? So you can be small and unhealthy, and you can be larger and be unhealthy.
Yes.
And it's that larger, well, I mean, every single person, every woman that we work with has some sort of disordered thinking around their body. I
Yes.
know if you looked at pictures of me, and I've had this said to me on social media all the time, it drives me crazy. Like, if you look at my picture before I got healthy, yes, I look different for sure. I am leaner and stronger now as I turned 50 than I was when I was 25. No doubt. And you look at pictures of me and you see a difference. But people will say, really? Like, you know, that's not even close to where I am. But what we don't understand is every woman is going through their own journey of figuring out what they really want and why. And it's weighing all of us down. And the same for you, Deb. I think people would have seen you like when we first started working together, because you were a client of mine before you became a coach, and now you have more certifications than I do and my head coach. But people wouldn't have looked at you and necessarily thought you were unhealthy because you weren't overly heavy.
Yep.
Right? But
Yeah, but
healthy.
I was in, I mean, I had health issues that you wouldn't have necessarily been able to explain at all. And people would, you know, if people looked at me, they would be like, oh, she goes to the gym, she eats, you know, she eats healthy. So I was doing the things that I needed to do in order to be healthy. But there were still pieces. So I looked a certain way, but I didn't feel good because my body wasn't, you know, I had chronic inflammation, which at that point in time, I didn't even know what chronic inflammation was.
I know.
I had chronic inflammation, which was causing a whole bunch of issues within different parts of my body at different times.
Yeah.
And so you can look at a person and say, oh, well, they look a certain way, but they might not be healthy. But there might also be people who somebody might look at and be like, oh, well, you know, they look this way, but they could be actually doing all of the things and be really healthy. And I think one of the things that's really interesting too is that, you know, sometimes people think about the fact that like, if I look at the number on the scale, that's the most important measure of my progress. But when you really think about progress, you think about like your skin clearing up, your digestive system working better, your blood work being better, you know, like having a drastic drop in your cholesterol level or your A1C levels. Like to me, those are the bigger things because that's actually the health piece that's really going to make the difference. It's not which way, you know, where the dial is on your scale.
Yeah. And I think you make a really good point. And so what we're going to do by the end of this today's session is we're going to give you 5 questions to ask yourself so you can get really honest with yourself if you are really truly going after weight loss or health. Because again, while the two are related, for most of us, it's actually 2 very different things.
Yeah.
And if we're really honest with ourselves, we are going after a vanity metric. We are going after something around our ego versus heart. And I think that's one of the things, Deb, that you and I work so hard on with our clients and all of our coaches, because we want your why. Like, and this is why I wore the shirt that I have on today, love your body, live your purpose, is that if we really look at what you were just saying, those metrics are metrics that are going to allow you to live longer and live a higher quality of life. 9 out of 10 people are dying from a metabolic disease, and over 70% of our population right now is insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, or diabetic. We have an obesity rate that has tripled since we were kids. And all of that is leading us to people dying younger in a way that is awful and miserable. And so you then can't serve the purpose that you were put on this earth to serve. And when I first start talking to women, you talk to women, any of that, this is one of the ways that I know we are focused on weight, even if you think you care about health more, right? So if you're focused on weight more than you're focused on health, this is how I know. When we are having conversations with women, it always comes back to the weight. It always
Yes, it does.
comes back to how my clothes fit. It does talk about how I feel, but I literally today had a conversation with a woman who told me she needed to lose 8 pounds. 8. That was her exact
How did
number.
she come up with that number though?
That is, well, if we're just talking about what they want and why, right? I have no idea. 8 pounds. But then I would say to her, why does that matter?
Yeah.
I can't button my pants. I don't want to buy new clothes. Okay. I get that. Totally get that.
Yeah.
But then when I say, literally probably 20 minutes down the road, she tells me she's not sleeping at all. She has insatiable cravings. Her hormones are completely out of whack. It took me 20 minutes to get that information because I heard all about the weight, clothes fitting, not feeling good in her own skin. And when I heard about the health, pre-diabetic, high cholesterol, even to her own admission, 8 pounds means she's not a larger woman where we feel like we need to go 50, 60, 70 pounds, right?
Right. Yeah.
8. And so when I started asking her questions, because no, of course I care about health. Of course I care about health. But the conversation was really centered around weight. And she wasn't self-aware enough yet because she just so believed that if I lose weight, then I'll get healthy. And what we know is if you actually get healthy by balancing your blood sugar and understanding yourself, that level of self-awareness, because if you have a high level of self-awareness, you start to become more intentional. You start to see the world in a totally different place. And you start to divorce yourself from the vanity metrics and actually really get into who you are and who you were meant to be on this earth. I talked to another woman today. Her name is Jen. And this was incredible. When I met her 4 months ago, she had just signed up for Weight Watchers and she wanted to lose weight. And I said to her, why? And she gave me a lot of health reasons. Yeah. But she was on Weight Watchers, right?
Right.
So when I tried to get her understanding, she believed me enough to say yes and to work with us. But it was still around the weight. Fast forward 4 months, where she actually sent me a message 1 month in to tell me this. But 4 months later, she said to me, everything about my life is better. I am more organized. I am more balanced. I don't get mad at my family. She said her refrigerator cocked out and they lost all the food. They just spent hundreds of dollars on groceries and they lost all of their food because overnight their refrigerator conked out and everything spoiled. She said, I didn't even get mad. I hit the curveball and I kept showing up for myself. She went on vacation and she was so confident. And she said, everything about me is healthier from inside out. And I'm like, I mean, we talked for 35, 40 minutes about all of the victories. And I said to her, but hang on, did you lose weight? She's like, oh, yeah.
But it didn't matter to her anymore.
And it was just a byproduct of being healthy. She was healthy in every single way. But when I met her 4 months ago, she talked about weight as a goal, weight as the catalyst for health. And now she's looking at it and she goes, I cannot believe I was bought into that. And she's like, it's suddenly less important to me because she now doesn't care so much about what other people think. She's truly in a place of her why being from her heart, not being from ego. But she wouldn't have admitted that 4 months ago. She believed that her reasons really were around health. But when she talked to me today, she goes, they weren't. They were definitely around what other people think of me.
And I look back now at my own journey and I thought, I mean, I can admit now, I was totally from the ego. I guess I wanted or felt like I needed to look a certain way. I don't know why I felt like I needed to look a certain way.
It was so true.
In some ways, I felt like my worth was wrapped up in that because when you look at all of the images that there are of women out there, they all look a certain way. I mean, it hasn't really been until even like in the last 3 years where you see way more body types out there. And so I felt like I had to look a certain way. But if you ask me now what it's about, I want to live into my 10th decade.
Yes.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I, do the things that I do, because and why I continue to like educate myself, because I think once you reach that level of self-awareness of it's not just about this, and like you said, it's a byproduct, but
Yes.
you open up all of these other possibilities. If you're only in it for the weight loss, and every single one of us has been on, all the things, have done all the things. If you're just doing it and you're not actually growing as a human through it, that's really telling you that it's more there about weight loss, because you're not becoming any more self-aware than you were when you started doing X diet. And like all of the other diets or things that I had done in the past, there was one goal. It was to lose X amount of weight. I didn't even. Right.
That's when
exactly.
it works.
And that's our definition of working. Like, okay, I lost the weight, and then you stop doing that, but I didn't change my habits. And I think
or your self-perception.
Exactly. That didn't change either. I
remember when I lost all the weight, when I was eating in the way that I teach, but I hadn't been coached through my why and my mindsets. I literally got more obsessed because my body was now, it was so different and so strong and so lean. And I was like, oh yeah, now like it was this confidence of ego. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm almost become more obsessed about my body. And I'm so afraid to lose this because my self-worth is wrapped up in that. And so if your why is like, I'm going to be more confident when my body changes, realize that that's going to be confidence again, based on what other people think, not based on who you are as a person.
But that doesn't change. Just because you look a certain way doesn't change your mindsets.
No,
like you are still thinking in the same way. And it's, you still have the same insecurities. You're not walking around with any more confidence just because you happen to look a certain way. You feel, or you gain that confidence because of that self-awareness.
Well, and it's because it's a lot of people will say, if I feel like I'm going to be more confident when I lose weight, recognize that we don't realize where confidence actually comes from. So if you're telling yourself that as truth, then you're coming from a place of ego versus heart. Therefore, weight loss, weight is going to still be at the forefront. It's funny. I think about the fact that we're both educators. I no longer am in the classroom. You are still in the classroom. And when we have kids, we both have kids, our own children as well. And when you think about if a kid comes home, in kindergarten and says, so-and-so was mean to me. They said I was ugly, or they said, I was something, right? We always say, you don't need to worry about that person. You're amazing. You're like, and we build kids up to not worry or think or stress about what those other kids think about you, but we don't actually mean it. Now, I'm not saying we should go and do whatever we want and not care about what other people think. I want to make an impact in this world in a positive way. So obviously the way I carry myself matters and how people interpret, but my value cannot be in what I look like. But we're almost acting like children in a way, believing that what so-and-so thinks about me, which is honestly not often true. We play guess what's in my head, but what so-and-so thinks of me matters for my own self-worth. And I think that we have to ask ourselves the really serious question that we don't do. If you want to lose weight, why do you want to lose weight? And really, I'd ask this question, and I'm not saying that this is the case. But let's go with like, that game, like, would you ever, or would you rather? I think there's
would you rather,
would you rather, right? So if you had to, would you rather have all of the symptoms of aging that we consider aging, right? Like joint pain, bloat, inflammation, digestive issues, sleep issues, cravings, like hormonal issues. Let's say you could have all of those wiped away completely. More energy, bam. But you don't lose a pound. So would you rather have all of those things or weight loss, but you still have the cravings and the hormonal issues and all that, but you lose weight? Which one would you rather? I think if you're like, if you really ask yourself that question and it's hard for you to answer, and you got to ask yourself what's going on. Now, if you're like, that's easy, I want to feel better, then you have to stop chasing weight loss as your strategy.
Correct.
That's a symptom of health and hormones. And if you keep going after the symptom, you never get to the root cause.
Yeah.
It's like when you have weeds in your garden and you just keep ripping the top of the weed off and you don't actually pull out the root.
Get the root. Yeah. Right? Yeah, because when you think about it, I mean, metabolic disease is connected back to inflammation within the body. So the reason we have, and our lifestyles have drastically changed. We are not moving as much as we used to. And it's interesting because if you go to the gym in the morning, right, and work out for an hour, but then sit for the rest of the day, you're actually still considered a sedentary person.
Isn't that crazy?
Because you're not in
standing right now.
Yeah, because you're not in constant motion. And so I think sometimes, people sort of think that they're doing the things that they need to be doing, but in reality, are you doing what you need to be doing? Like, is it leading to reduction in inflammation, which then is actually going to give you the better health?
Yeah, I think a lot of times we're throwing mud at the wall and our measure is whether or not we're losing weight. And of course we want to feel better, but because we use the scale as the measure of truth towards these efforts of quote unquote health, we actually can't even see that the sleep is not getting any better, right? Like if we're losing weight, but we sleep like garbage, we can't use the weight loss as a measure of health because you can lose weight in a very unhealthy way. And I think that's what most of us have done for most of our lives. And we considered diets, they worked when they were younger, so I should just keep going doing that. But if we actually really understand what our body needs, it's not to be at a deficit. I always say, since when does anything thrive at a deficit?
Nothing.
Nothing. So,
nothing.
But here's what I also hear a lot. Yeah, but when I was 20 pounds lighter, I felt great. How did you lose that weight? Well, I was insert diet here. Weight Watchers, keto, fasting, blank, blank, blank. It's just not working anymore. But I felt really good. I was actually on a call with a woman who's one of our clients who had a heart attack at 47. When she met us, her doctor was putting her on Ozempic. He's like, I got to put you on Ozempic. Nothing else is going to work. You have to do this. She happened to get on a call with us and she's like, you know what? I don't want to be on a weight loss drug for the rest of my life. It's too scary. And I'm like, amen, sister. I go, what if I told you that you could absolutely get the same results that everybody's talking about with Ozempic, but in terms of weight loss, but actually be healthier and improve your relationship with your body and food? Now, she was like, then it would be amazing. So I mean, she's been with us for about 6 months and she's a completely different woman. It is so cool to see how everything she's doing. She just actually signed up to be a certified coach we have a certification program. And she's like, I never could have imagined that I could actually help other people to do this. So it's incredible. But she said, I went out recently with my friends. They're all on Ozempic and they're all talking about how happy they are and how good they feel. And I said, they're lying. They're happy, but they don't feel good. And if we ever said, I felt good on a diet, I say, were you on a diet? Were you still, stressed about your body and weight and had a disordered relationship with food? I hear a lot of people talk about how food doesn't consume me anymore when I'm on Ozempic. I'm like, yeah, because it dulls
It dulls your senses.
It dulls your senses. It's fake working, right? And
but here's the thing too. You're not actually, like, when you're on one of the weight loss drugs, you're not actually attacking the root. All you're doing is snipping off the weed at the top. You're not attacking the issue of how you got to where you were in the first place.
And we're doing more damage in the long run. I know we are, and this is going to come out. It's absolutely going to come out. And we're going to do a whole episode on weight loss drugs. But my point is, she was like, they're all so happy and they say they feel great. And she said, then as we got into dinner, first of all, most of them didn't eat anything. They were nauseous. One of them was talking about how she has a constant ringing in her ear. The other one said she hasn't pooped in weeks. Another one said she's literally nauseous all the time. Another one said she actually has no like feelings, happy, sad, all of that. But they were all so happy because they lost a lot of weight. And that is what I think the bottom line is here.
Yep.
This is about ego. And we are like kindergartners, so worried about what other people think and thinking that something quick fix that's not about health is going to give us happiness and joy. It's like saying, you know, if you are in a good place financially, or you're not happy in your life, or you're stressed and you win the lottery, we know that the science and this history and the experience has said that not only do those people typically lose all of their money, but they are not any happier. And most of them are even more depressed after they win something like the lottery, because we haven't actually gotten to the real issue. And so I think if we manufacture feeling good when we lose weight, and our body's actually still in havoc, if not more havoc, but we don't recognize the signs because we're losing weight.
Yeah, and the fact that the people couldn't see, like as they're starting to talk about those things, and as they're starting to talk about, you know, the issues that they now have, those are directly connected to side effects. And so you have to also think about like, what is your risk reward? What are you actually getting out of it? And are there real benefits? And if the weight loss is the only thing, then you're not in it for the right reasons.
Exactly. And I'm pulling up a text right now of what somebody sent me recently. But we also worked with, did some workplace wellness with a dentist office, and they had all of their clients working and learning mind, body, and lifestyle. It was so, so, so cool.
Yeah.
And I had heard from the owner, one of the owners of the practice, and he had said at one point in his life, he had said he would give up 10 years of his life to be skinny. He would have given up 10 years of his life. And when you hear that, you think that is so sad. But he was so miserable about his weight. And he said, what I realized is after losing the weight, it wasn't about the weight. It was about who I believed I was in this world. And let's be honest, I wasn't the healthiest version of myself. And I think that's one of the things that we really work hard to be able to say, are you doing, saying, believing, acting like a healthy person? And if you're not, but you're on all these diets, well, then you really just want that vanity metric. You really aren't focused on health. Because how many times is it like, I know what to do, I just don't do it? And we have all these
how many times have we heard that one?
Right. But a lot of times we're not self-aware enough to really understand why what we're doing is not working. But truly, 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 the why of what we want, we never explore. And, you know, we have a strategy called 5 whys. And like, if you really ask yourself, I want to lose weight, why? So I can be more confident, why? Right? And you just keep going,
digging down
start
deeper
to really get to the heart of what you really want. And if you can't figure out why it matters so much what people think of you, then you got to just stop accepting it as truth.
Yeah.
I want to show you this text. I'm looking for it. You talk.
I was just going to say, it's sort of how you talk about like truthiness. Like there's things that we sort of believe to be the truth, but a lot of times it's because we're putting our own thoughts into other people's heads. We think that people are thinking certain things about us, but unless it's actually coming out of their mouth, they're not really thinking that. I think some of the other things,
we let our thoughts like tell us what's true, but as soon as we ask people and they say it out loud, they're like, I don't really know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah, because if you ask yourself the 5 whys and you really get down to like you get down to the root cause of what it is. And for most of the time when you're doing that, there tends to be like a surface Like somebody who doesn't want to change their bedtime and they're like, well, little kids go to bed early. It's like, who cares as an adult what time you go to bed, right? It's like you are making choices for yourself, but somewhere along the line, somebody was told that if they went to bed early, then they were whatever.
Yes,
and start to believe those things, and we start to believe what people say about us. But again, going back to, messages that we get all of the time, we're bombarded with messages. But I think what we need to really be thinking about is the health piece and thinking about if I ultimately want to be the healthiest version of myself, it doesn't necessarily matter what I look like on the outside. It's really what's coming from the inside. Because your inside, not only your personality and what you bring to the table, and when you think about, living out your purpose, that's really what we're here for. We're not here to find the next best diet. We're here to live out our purpose. But if we're continuing to kind of almost in a way lie to ourselves about what our true reason is, whether it's that weight loss or health, and we're not, and we keep thinking it's about health, but when you really look at it, it's really about that weight loss, you're not able to live your purpose because you haven't reached that level of self-awareness yet.
Yep. I love it. I was just finding the text, and this woman that had been with us for a long time, she was on and off what we teach around balancing your blood sugar and PFC3. And she texted me and she's like, I just lost another 10 pounds doing PFC3. I'm back on. And I'm like, why are you coming off?
Right. Why are you going off?
Oh my gosh. So then I got her in and I'm like, you need to work with us, right? So she wasn't 3 days in and she's like, you have blown my mind. I am now thinking completely differently. I just keep thinking I need to lose 10 pounds because that's what everybody just talks about. And she said, she goes, and she's been losing weight this whole time just because she could feel it, right? She got rid of the scale. I love that she trusts the process. She goes, if I never lose another pound, I don't care. I cannot believe how much inflammation. And if you looked at this woman, you wouldn't have really known how much inflammation and bloat I was carrying. I feel better than I've felt in decades.
Yeah.
That is, and now she's like, I have more energy to actually do the things. So this is what I think I want to do. I want to ask you, our listener.
Yep.
We're going to give you 5 questions to really be honest with yourself. You can have a conversation with someone else, but this is going to take some vulnerability. And vulnerability is really hard. And sometimes you actually have to recognize that I have been chasing something for a reason I can't name. And if that's the case, then you just got to be really honest with yourself. And maybe it's hard to be vulnerable with other people, but I would really encourage you to think about these 5 questions we're going to ask you. And if you can say yes to any of these 5 questions, then you are chasing weight loss and not really focused on your health. Recognize a healthy body does not want to hold on to weight. But especially when we're in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, it's trying to protect you. It's being your best friend. You don't like it, but it's talking to you, and you just have to start listening to what it says. You got to learn how to fly your own plane and stop being the passenger all the time. All right. So I'll start with the first question, then Deb, you'll do a question, and we'll go back and forth. How about that?
Yeah. Sounds good.
So I want you to answer yes or no. And again, if you can answer yes to any question, then you really need to look at what you want and why you want it and truly get yourself to that place. I know I want to be able to pick myself up off the floor when I'm in my 80s and 90s when I fall. I know I want to be able to travel to see my great grandkids with being able to lift a piece of luggage over my head to put it in the plane. I know I want to be able to pick up my great grandchild and play soccer with my great grandchild. And I know I have more to give this earth and I want to do it for as long as possible. That is a heart-driven reason versus I want to lose weight so I can feel better, because the two could be completely separate. Okay. Yeah. So you ready? Question number 1. Do you use the scale to measure progress? Be honest with yourself. Question number 2, Deb.
Question number 2. What do I see and tell myself when I look in the mirror?
That's a big one, right? Because if you're looking at yourself, I used to do this. I used to look in the mirror and I used to take I used to pinch the back of my legs and then look at it to imagine what my leg would look like if it was
without it.
if you're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
you're coming from a place of ego. And what I want people to love themselves so much that they don't want to continue to harm themselves.
Yep.
That's like your body.
That's really what it comes down to. Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. Number 3. I'll do 3.
Yeah.
Am I regularly assuming what people think about the way I look? I like have zero radar on that anymore. I got too many important things to do.
Yeah. There's way more important things to think about than what other people
I have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
Come on.
Question number 4. Am I self-conscious to take pictures with people at events? And I would even add on to that, do you hide behind other people when you do take pictures?
That's one of the things that's so interesting. If you look at pictures of me, there's not a ton of them when my kids are younger. I am always behind my kids.
Yep.
And it was just it was almost subconscious, but I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I knew it. I was focused on ego versus heart. And it was like when I was low enough on the scale to take a picture, or I thought I was, you would see me in front.
Then you would see you in the picture. Yeah.
Yep. And if that's true, if you lose weight and don't actually deal with what's causing your belief that your value is in what you look like, that is not going to get fixed when you lose weight.
No, it's not. And you're not going to feel any better. Yeah.
It's why that quick weight loss, Ozempic, people think, let me just lose weight and then I'll figure out how to get healthy. Or let me just lose weight and then I'll like deal with those other things. Let me just win the lottery and then I'll figure out, how I can actually, then I'll be happy.
It's always the and then, but that's not necessarily the case.
But actually doing what it takes to figure it out and get that same result, it changes everything when you actually get there.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Do I believe that I will be healthier if I could just lose weight? Is that a lie I'm telling myself? We know that weight can be an indication of health, but it's one of many.
Yes.
Instead, I want us to really think about, I will lose weight if I'm healthier. But what's so crazy is what we know in our clients, Deb, is that people that talk about who they are after they figure themselves out, it's so crazy that the weight hardly comes into the conversation, even though they probably lost more weight than they ever thought they could.
Yep. Yeah. No, because it's no longer a factor. You no longer think about it because you're thinking about and understanding and realizing all of the pieces that actually matter.
Exactly.
That's the big thing.
And that's where it's like, when I think about our client Shoshana, in her very first month, she had chronic pain all the time. She was taking CBD, every type of like pain medication. She was she said she could barely like put dishes in the sink. And after 1 month, she said 99% of her inflammation and her pain was gone. She never imagined it. She hadn't lost any weight yet.
Yeah.
But a healthy body won't hold on to weight, but a body will not release it unless it's ready to say and believe it doesn't need it.
Yes.
But she's like, this is victory. This is success. I am on the path. And I'm never going off of it. So, I mean, what do you really want?
Yeah. What do you really want? That's the big question.
This lie we're telling ourselves that I need to lose weight to get healthy, that's really weighing us down.
Yep.
Get what I did there? What's really weighing me down? Our podcast series. That was pretty good, right?
That's good. I like that.
So we'd love to hear your comments. Please, please, please subscribe to the podcast. Put a review down. Let us know what you're thinking about this, because we want to be able to hear from you and be able to work through more of our content on this series. We're really excited about it, and I hope that you are too. Leave us a review. Yeah. Remember, wherever you are on your journey, there's a place for you to start 1% at a time.
Yep.
Love your body, live your purpose. Right, Deb?
I love it. Yes. Every day.
Let's go.